from...
What do you got, a light there? Flashlight? Match?
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
Well, I think it's even more basic than that, I'm really sorry to say. I think there's just a certain amount of Jew hatred in the media, especially in the elite media, that cannot be overcome or explained away. There's just the media in this country for a very long time has been contemptuous of Jews and contemptuous of Jewish life. And this was true during the Holocaust, when the media was largely controlled by old-line, wealthy, white Protestant males. And it's true now when it's controlled mostly by left-wingers. So there's just, we've moved from right-wing anti-Semitism to left-wing anti-Semitism. And, of course, they try to pretend it's not anti-Semitism, it's really anti-Israel. But it's really anti-Semitism.
All right, folks, welcome back. That was Ben Stein yesterday on this show. Making a very serious charge, and I don't know how blanket a charge he was making, but I will say that without making a blanket Jew-hating accusation against the media, I think Ben Stein is right on target. You just look at the coverage, and it's the coverage of this event, this war that Israel's involved in, and the coverage of the last one, and the coverage of the one before it, and the coverage of the one before that. And the media, you look at people with little children who live in this country. You know, like Erin Burnett comes to mind, just had a baby, okay? And to hear the question she asks, and she's not alone. I mean, I could pick out any one of a dozen. Don Lemon yesterday on CNN. Alan Dershowitz was on a panel, which was ridiculous. They had like 6 people. What do you need Alan Dershowitz if you got 6 people? You put Alan Dershowitz on with one other or to talk. And when they weren't interrupting him, Alan Dershowitz quoted from a Hamas leader. Talking about how we will use, and this goes back a ways, how we will use our children and our women as human shields, blah, blah, blah. And Don Lemon says, are you saying Palestinians want to use their kids as human shields? I mean, you've just offended everyone in my audience. I mean, do these people have a brain? Are they uneducated? Or is it a bias? Is it anti-Semitism? Which they could disguise by claiming I have nothing against Jews. It's big bad Israel that I don't particularly like. You know, we're anti-Zionist. We're not anti-Semitic. You've heard that over and over and over again. We have nothing against Jews. It's just Israel we don't like. Well, that's old and that's tired. And I'm not accusing Don Lemon of that. But he was totally disrespectful to Alan Dershowitz last night and to his audience, but that's not new for him. But it's systemic within the media. So Ben Stein, yes, has a very valid point without making a blanket statement. Okay, folks, we will be back, but first, this hour is America's Moment. Takes a look back at the integration of schools in Little Rock, Arkansas back in 1967.
The 1954 U.S. Supreme Court's decision, Brown versus the Board of Education, declared all laws establishing segregated schools to be unconstitutional. As with the majority of southern cities, Little Rock, Arkansas's Board of Education agreed to comply with the court's ruling. However, Arkansas's Governor Orville Faubus had other ideas.
Units of the National Guard have been and are now being mobilized with the mission to maintain or restore the peace and good order of this community.
President Eisenhower was so disturbed by the governor's decision to completely ignore federal law, he cut short his vacation and returned to the White House to address the nation.
The president's responsibility is inescapable. In accordance with that responsibility, I have today issued an executive order directing the use of troops under federal authority to aid in the execution of federal law at Little Rock, Arkansas.
At the center of the controversy were 9 black students, selected by the Little Rock School Board to attend the then all-white Central High School. One of the students, Elizabeth Eckford, arrived at the school separately and found herself confronting an angry crowd of students and bystanders. Suddenly, out of that crowd, as seen here, an older white woman came to her rescue and guided her safely to a bus. Even after the 9 students were admitted to Central High, the year that followed found them being subjected to taunts and abuses, both verbal and physical, by student and parent alike.
Well, I think like if a Spanish or a Chinese person came here, it wouldn't be hard to get along with them. It's just that the Negroes are what you might say more different to us than a Spanish person might be.
However, with the admittance of those brave students on the 25th day of September, 1957,